Yes, well, I must say that we did have a good time with the team that you so graciously sent from this church to spend some time with us in Mongolia. Paul and Alta, they mentioned earlier how your team was an answer to people's prayer in Urbisong. Somehow, though, it just doesn't have the impact that when we were there, one evening we were debriefing. It was late at night and it was dark out and everything, and our contact with the church there, she was kind of our community liaison. Her name was Otka, and she's a young lady. She spoke English reasonably well, although it had an interesting flavor all the time, which probably made us laugh. But she was actively involved in this church, and it was partially her that had this vision from God to build this community playground. And one night she said she had something she wanted to share, and she spent a little time just telling us all how they had gotten this vision and how it seemed impossible, and they were waiting and they were holding on to this money, and they just kept praying and waiting, and how we were the answer to that prayer. And just the way she said it, it really impacted me. I wanted to run out there and do some more work. It was dark and everything, but I was ready to go then. That was so motivating. And I know that had a huge impact, not just on the community, and okay, we got the project done, but on her, understanding that God cared and loved enough that He gave her this vision, but also then was there to make it happen and bring some people along. And that was priceless to be part of being an answer to prayer for her personally and for that church there. And I'm glad that you were able to be part of it as well. And I just wish we could show you. I think Kim might have videoed some of that, her testimony there. And if you get a chance to see that, that's would be a good thing to see. I have a little confession to make in that I'm not really a preacher. I don't preach regularly. We do attend church regularly, but I'm not the pastor, so I don't have to preach all the time. So I don't do it very often. But I have an advantage over some of the other pastors, like your Pastor Todd here, who he regularly preaches week by week. And I'm thinking that he has to come up with something different every week, although perhaps not. Does he tell you the same thing over and over again? Perhaps. Actually, some of my favorite authors every book that they write seems to be about the same thing and have the same theme, so maybe it is possible. But for me, when I'm going around visiting many different churches, it's quite handy that I can have one message and share that message everywhere we go. The only difficulty is that Jessica kind of gets bored with it, and she figures that she could probably give the message pretty much word for word every time as well. So we'll see a little later on in our time here if she can do that. But anyway, I started thinking about what would be my message for this time when we came back to North America, and I started thinking about it quite some time ago. And at first I sort of thought, well, maybe I should speak to the young people. You know, I'm really not that old. Okay, a little bit, but I can still relate to the young people. I remember when I was young, and maybe I should focus on them and just what I would want to say to the young people. I guess I would want to say that I would want to encourage you to listen to God and be open to God and say yes to anything and everything that God puts in front of them. I've heard some people say, oh yeah, I said that, well, God, I'll do anything for you. I'll go anywhere except I won't go to Africa. To me, that doesn't make sense. Because if God is a loving God and He cares about us and He knows us better than we know ourselves, I mean, if He says Africa, well, He should know better what's good for us. So, I would want to encourage the young people, just say yes to God. Go wherever He has you. Say yes to all those opportunities that drop in front of you, even if you're not totally sure if you can do it or not. Go ahead and give it a try. That's worked for me. It's been great. I've been in places and done things that I never thought possible. So that would be what I would say to the young people. But after that, I got thinking a bit more and thinking, well, maybe it's not fair that I just pick on the young people, you know. And I have seemed to have passed some invisible threshold. I don't know when it happened, but somehow I've passed through it now. I'm no longer young anymore. I don't know exactly how that happened. If somebody has some wisdom on that, you can share that with me after. But somehow now I've sort of passed into the old category, and well, maybe I should speak directly to the older people. I say older because I'm not putting any range there. But, you know, and I thought of it, well, what would I say to the older people? You know, in Philippians 3, verse 14, around there, Paul is talking about running the race, you know, and finishing well and running to win. And, you know, when I think about some of the older people in the Bible, Solomon springs to mind. He has such wisdom, he has so much going for him, and then later in life he seemed to lose his way and stop running the race. And I would want to encourage us older people that to keep running, keep moving on, keep saying yes to God, keep changing and being willing to change, do new things, and you know, try and follow what God's put in front of you. And I know this year we've had a number of older people come and visit us in Mongolia. We had Harold and Dave on that team, and they did great. I was wondering a little how that 16-hour bus ride was how they were gonna come out of that, but they seemed to handle that great. Have you recovered, Dave? You doing okay? Good. We also had 4 ladies come, and their specialty was quilting. Now, I don't know how old they were, but they seemed fairly old. And their specialty was quilting, and most of them had never traveled, certainly not to Asia, certainly not to a place like Mongolia, but they did fantastic. They found that they could relate to these Mongolian ladies that they were teaching and working with. They couldn't speak any Mongolian, but somehow the love that they had for those people really communicated, and it was really great to see. So that's the kind of thing I would say to the older people. Now, I guess really it's sort of the same message as the younger people, I guess, but that's okay. Anyway, I was thinking of all of this, but then, you know, it came to me that is all good, and it's all true and right, but it's still somewhat incomplete. For me, I'm very service-oriented, and so far all of the things that I've been talking about are all about doing, you know, about going, about saying yes, about running the race till the end and keeping on finishing it. You know, it's true that the end part is the harder part of the race. I've never seen anybody, when I watch the Olympics and anybody puffing and tired at the beginning. They're always tired at the end. So I think you can expect, and I've certainly found that in the latter part of the race, that things can get harder, and we shouldn't be surprised by that. But anyway, all of these things are kind of service-oriented. We're all about doing and making things happen and that. And I know many Mennonites are that way. I know that you folks, you do a lot. You do a lot with the Mongolia partnership. I know they've got this MCC going on in Tidrin, and there's all kinds of things going on that you're involved in, and that's really great.